in Houston. It's tailed off some since then, really struggled in the playoffs last year. Do you think this is a make or break season for him?
Greeny, I do. I know, I think that the Houston Texans exercise a fifth-year option. Usually quarterback that you figure that's going to be part of your future long-term, you would have already had an extension, but we haven't seen that from the Houston Texans. And listen, going back to the playoffs, I don't know if a QB has had a worse playoffs than C.J. Stroud last year, so this is a big year for him.
Yeah, both games, including the one they won in Pittsburgh. Dan, how about that? What does the contract tell us about Houston's thinking?
Houston is not shy about doing contract extensions with its big stars and its foundational pieces. We saw it earlier this offseason with Will Anderson Jr. at a very high level. The fact that they haven't worked to extend C.J. Stroud tells us they want to see something more from him next year. I'll repeat what I said about Jalen Hurts. I'm not saying it's going to go badly, but if it did go badly, if the Houston Texans had a bad year and C.J. Stroud played poorly, then I think they have to look at other options next offseason with only 1 year left on the rookie contract and it being the fifth-year option year. So, yeah, I think if you just look at the way these contracts are set up, these are important years for these quarterbacks.
Yeah, I'm actually continuing to be really excited to talk about the Houston Texans and CJ Stroud because they are easily one of the most fascinating teams. They are easily one of the most fascinating teams where the stakes are genuinely through the roof, where a Super Bowl is literally right there for their taking. And yet they obviously have come up short. Combine that with an incredibly passionate fan base and it's just like I find discussing and talking about the Houston Texans just absolutely positively fascinating. Before I jump into it, Houston Texans fans, please do not forget to subscribe and watch the full length of the video. When you guys do that, views go through the roof. Subscribers go through the roof. And it's not about chasing views. It's not about chasing subscribers. It's about being able to create the best possible Houston Texans content that I can so we can have real honest grounded discussions and making videos that people genuinely want to see because again I find this conversation absolutely fascinating. I really do and I'm going to jump into it why. And I want to be able to make Houston Texans content that like we have hundreds of comments, right? Like I want to be able to have like real conversations that actually hold some weight to it, right? Rather than just having this awesome discussion. And it's just, it just doesn't really go anywhere because where the Texans are, it's just I don't think we can even really truly appreciate just how elite and special that defense has been and just how incredible and how consistent as a whole the Texans have been. And CJ Stroud is definitely being circled as the player that is holding the Texans back and especially because he gets injured or he gets concussed and now you have a backup quarterback who's able to step in and really manage his way into some wins and that really made a lot of people be like what's going on here to the point where CJ obviously has such a bad playoff game against the Patriots and they were like should he be benched? And now we've talked about this a lot before where like and I've defended CJ now a million times and this isn't going to be a whole let's just sit here and defend CJ because I want to have the conversation as a whole. I want to have a more this is what I actually did. They referenced the Jalen Hurts and I actually just made the Jalen Hurts video and I also talk about zooming in and zooming out. Zooming in, zooming out. These conversations right now to me are more interesting from a zooming out perspective. But I just want to get out of the way that I think a lot of the TJ Charles issues could be, coaching, O-line, injured receivers, lack of run support, etc. And if you want to point out that a backup quarterback was able to navigate that better, that's fine. Everyone has their different strengths and weaknesses. Everyone has their different LL sets. Everyone has different things at stake for them. They can succeed in different ways. Doesn't automatically mean now that like CJ Stroud is not that good of a quarterback and that the Texans are better with a backup quarterback or whatever it may be. But moving forward and this is what I had said a lot now in the past that like CJ just needs to be a better game manager and just be better at not making a bad play worse. And I've talked about that extensively. But when push comes to shove, this is why the bigger discussion to me is more interesting because of what's at stake for the Texans because they know they built something special. They know that they have this elite defense with this elite defensive coach. And we've now seen multiple Super Bowls, multiple playoff runs over these last few years. Really since the Chiefs of 23, Eagles 24, and then the Seahawks and Patriots for that matter in 25, where you're just like when you have a truly elite defense, like your offense can be a little inconsistent. As long as your offense isn't like an absolute liability, you're not just spitting the ball up and turning the ball like you're going to win a lot of games. Like it at these last few years have really been, and I don't believe in the whole defense wins championships. Like you can't ever reduce anything to just a single line like that. Because if that was the case then the Texans would have won and they didn't. The Texans had the best defense in the NFL and they didn't win, right? So you obviously need it's more than just defense wins championships. But we've seen that right now and that can change in any given moment because we abandoned defense. The rules were changing the way how offenses were played, etc., etc. But it was just like offense. And the pendulum has absolutely swung back towards defense. And now you see that when you have a truly elite defense, and it's not just a good defense, not just a great defense, not just a defense that's competent and can force some turnovers and 3 outs. It's like, no, when you actually have a truly elite defense, it's an absolute superpower. It is equivalent to the Eagles having Saquon Barkley, the Chiefs having Travis Kelce in his prime or something. Like, it's equivalent to having that brilliant play caller, Ben Johnson, whatever. When you have a truly elite defense, again, not a great, not a good, not just not a liability, truly elite, it is clearly an absolute superpower. And if you can just get consistent offensive play, you're going to win a lot of games. And that's where, and I will reference Jalen Hurts back in, like he does not get enough appreciation for at the bare minimum, especially in 24, just not being the reason why they lose games. And we can say that anyone can do that. And I'll say that's incorrect. That's incorrect. That's not the case. And sometimes, your ability to help your team is just don't be the reason why they lose. Which sounds like a low bar. I get it. But trust me, even elite special quarterbacks have to pass that bar. Tom Brady himself, literally Tom Brady himself, Peyton Manning himself, like that is what it is. And it is something that CJ Stroud has struggled with a little bit too much. But since the team is right there, the level of improvement, like they don't need CJ Stroud to show everyone that like he can capture the magic of his rookie season and capture the magic of like that's an MVP right there. That is a top 4, top 5 quarterback in the NFL. He doesn't have to even capture that. But if he can feel more confident in the offense and more comfortable in the offense, it's like the Texans are not going to be in a position where they're going to be like, well, we can move on from him. If you had some other true quarterback in the wings where you're like, this quarterback is like about to be something special or whatever it like. You don't necessarily have that and you're not in a position again. Maybe if you made some sort of trade and now you're going to get the Arizona Cardinals pick and now you're going to have a top 4 pick next year or something like right. If you're in that type of situation, sure, right, but like listen, if the Texans were really concerned, like if there was actually like some real genuine angst there, I think they would have pulled the flyer on like a Tua, a.k. Ealer Mayer, because you get them for nothing and you can just say, oh, we just need it for a backup quarterback. And you can say, well, we already have a backup quarterback. And it's like, doesn't matter. Like that. That's what those teams do. Again, that's what the Minnesota Vikings just did. That's what the Atlanta Falcons just did. Like when you are genuinely like, yeah, we hope our quarterback works, but we're not so sure about it. You make those types of moves. You make those types of moves and the Texans haven't. And I think the Texans would feel comfortable moving forward with CJ Stroud, especially if they can get him at a good price that doesn't reset the quarterback market. I think that's the name of the game for the Texans. And so make or break, it's like if CJ struggles this year and this is where it's tough because it's like I don't even want to say struggle because that's too specific. But like if he doesn't just quite give you the sense of like that's an elite top 5 quarterback because that is the trajectory that CJ felt that he was on, right? It was like this guy is about to be clearly bona fide top 5 quarterback, right? 23 going into 24 was like he's a front runner to be the MVP. Texans are going to get to the AFC Championship game. I mean, like I laid out the floor and again, they got injured, but I laid out the floor of like to me anything short of the AFC Championship game. You came up sh. Ort, you came and I kept comparing them to the Eagles of 21 into 22 where it was like, okay, you had a decent year in 21, then you made a couple big moves and then 22 got to the Super Bowl. And that's what I lumped to the Texans and we went out and got, Diggs and company and whatnot. Made a couple other moves and it was like okay like I thought it was awesome. They really were putting a lot behind CJ. O-line ended up being a mess. Coach didn't do a great job of managing the injuries which is fine. That can happen and didn't go anywhere and then it's like okay now the next year and they still had a lot of the same problems. Injuries, bad O-line, inconsistent run game. Round and round we go. And so it's just like I'd like to see a season where I have the confidence of like your line's pretty good, run game is pretty consistent, comfortable with the coaching, comfortable with the play calling. I'm talking about offensively obviously, right? And it's just like then try to figure out and evaluate what and who CJ Stroud is as a quarterback and see the growth and maturity and development continue to go. That to me is the whole idea of make or break. And this is really actually very similar to what I said about Jalen Hurts about the whole make or break mentality where it's like I want to see growth and development. It's not like you better show that you can win the Super Bowl, that you can outduel, Josh Allen in the fourth quarter. Rooter. It's just like all that stuff is great. All that stuff is awesome. At the bare minimum, just show me that you're actually continuing to grow and evolve and be better and that when we give you a good enough O-line and actual run game and receivers that are healthy, like yeah, that you're a legit are you perfect? No. But like, are you a legitimate quarterback? Can we win with you? Can you continue to grow and evolve? Yes. Because then we're going to keep you because it is such a major risk to be like, well, we're going to go draft another quarterback or we're going to draft someone in the second round and we're going to, put them out there and see what happens. Like there's too much at stake because you're too great of a team and your defense is too elite that it's like there's no easy path when you're a team that's a little bit of a mess or that when your quarterback is exceptionally just not good and not it and you really can't stay healthy or whatever it may be or he's just you have a Go Smith season it's really easy to move on. It's really, really, really easy to just be like, we're just moving on. And that's why if Kyler Murray has success with the Minnesota Vikings, it's like, yeah, man, you've been injured multiple seasons. J.J. McCarthy, you've been injured multiple seasons. Even when he did play, wasn't quite good. When we had Sam Darnold healthy for the whole season, we were competing for the 1 seed, go to the playoffs, etc. It's just easy to be like, yeah, okay, we're done. It's just easy. But that's not the case that the Texans are in. That's not the case for CJ Stroud either. So, it becomes significantly more complicated. It really does. It's just not as straightforward. When the Patriots need to move on from Jones, it was like a no-brainer. It was easy. It's like, yeah, okay, we're done. This is like time to just, hit the reset button. The Texans don't have that luxury. Albeit it shouldn't be considered a luxury because they have the luxury of having an elite defense and a team that if they can just get some consistent offensive production, they were a bona fide stone-cold Super Bowl contender, right? Like even with the way how CJ had played in both games, even against the Patriots, like they were in a position to beat the Patriots if CJ just didn't actually really drop the ball exceptionally bad. And again, I don't even 100% inherently blame him because there was a lot of things going against him. But if you just got marginally better quarterback play, the score really changes dramatically quite frankly, especially because some of the way how the turnovers unfolded, but like they were going to be in a position to actually get to the AFC Championship game and be in that position. And then you're going up against a backup quarterback and the Denver Broncos, right? I'm just saying you Almas. T beat the Broncos with a backup quarterback against Boone Nix, right? So, like I don't know. And then you played the Seahawks. I remember weeks and weeks ago at that point, but like that game got weird. At 1 minute the Seahawks felt like they were actually running away with it and torched him. Then the defense woke up and then it was kind of like whoa. I remember what I saw, one of like the most incredible interceptions, and it was just like then the defense really had Sam looking in all different direction. So it's just like it is right there. It is right there even with a messy offense. And that is why it's like, this is make or break on not only CJ Stroud from that view, but it's make or break on the Texans to be able to build a good enough offense, because you are letting this team down. Whoever you want to put that responsibility on, ownership, GM, DMA, wherever you want. It's like you have to put together a floor here, a consistent floor that allows you to be at the minimum a defensive team so you can keep winning these games. Otherwise, you're putting yourself, you're backing yourself into a corner. So, it's really interesting to me. I really find it interesting because it's just like it's actually such a more difficult decision, and because of who the Texans are, because of how competitive they are, and because of just how elite and special that defense is. I still go back to that Kansas City Chiefs game, and I know the Chiefs weren't the same as they were, but I just remember so much belief in momentum that I think the Chiefs were coming off a bye or what, there's the feeling of the Chiefs are going to have this magic. They're back. Their O-line is legit now, and they got Xavier Worthy. He's on the field. Rashid Rice and Kelsey M, right? And the Texans defense was just guys, they were just there's no chance you're going to do anything on us. It was the ultimate I know who you think you are. That's who you were. I know you think you know who we are. You don't. It was just the most ultimate big brother, little brother, I'm soning you moment. It was just you can't do anything. We will give you permission, and guess what? We're not giving you permission. It was just the ultimate smack in the face. That, and against Josh Allen in the Buffalo Bill. I mean, when you combine some of these games against the best quarterbacks out there, it's just it was just no contest. No contest. So, the Texans are not in a position to be able to take a big swing in the quarterback, because it's no, you just need competence. You just need something. And so if CJ Stroud is actually the problem, and it's not the O-line, and it's not the Reese, and it's just then you really do just need you just need a Kirk Cousins who's healthy. Even if he's 36 years old, you just need the Kirk Cousins who's healthy, who's competent, and that's all you need. That's literally all you need, and you are in an incredible position to win this. You just need someone who's competent, experienced. You can even do it with 45-year-old Phillip Rivers. It's you just need competence, and that's it. And that's if CJ Stroud is the problem. That is if CJ is the problem, which again I'm not saying he is, but I'm just saying. So it's that's where you're at, man. And then that's where do you find yourself in a situation, because again if CJ is the problem, it's do you find a way to beat the Detroit Lions and the Cincinnati Bengals, or the Detroit Lions and the Los Angeles Rams, and yet you do it with the Texans and the Cincinnati Bengals. We were we're going to get Joe Burrow. We're so elite. We're so special. We are not drafting another quarterback. We're not playing games with a backup quarterback. We got to figure out how to get a Joe Burrow or something. And this is where if you trusted your offense more and trusted the decision, and this is where it would have been beneficial to have an offensive head coach. It's you're maybe we go out and get Malik Willis, or actually we can win with M. Jones, right? That's where it starts to just get really interesting. Really interesting. And this is what I think I had said in a previous Texans video. The Eagles decide we're moving on from Jalen. It's well then Jalen is a fantastic, option as well, So, It's just I'm so fascinated to see where this all goes. And again, I believe in CJ. I'm rooting and pulling for CJ. I'm confident that if they can build a good enough offense, he can succeed in it. But yeah, it's like in a lot of ways there's lots of options, but also not a lot because of where the Texans are, which is what makes it just, pretty intense. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Houston Texans and CJ Stroud? Do you think that this is a make or break season for CJ? Do you think he is the main source of what has been holding back the Texans, or do you think it's just the offense as a whole line coaching? Whatever. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single comment. It's whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get into some discussions. Let's get to some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. Please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up as it really does help visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much.